Well, as many of you will be aware, the dairy industry's labour force has been made up predominantly of migrant workers. And of course, with COVID-19 locking down our borders, with many of them locked out to return pre-calving, there is a lot of pressure on where this labour shortage will be filled by. Jane Muir is the people team leader for Dairy NZ and joins us now on Sarah's Country. Good evening, Jane. How are you?
Yeah, great. Thanks, you, Sarah.
It's a bit of a worry. Chris Lewis here from Federated Farmers has been pushing the government, who the response has said there will be greater scrutiny over farmers trying to apply for visas when there's plenty of unemployed Kiwis for these jobs. Is it really that hard to train up our Kiwis into the dairy force rather than relying on our migrant workers?
Well, it's very hard to do on the spin of a wheel, yes. So currently we have about 25% of our employees are migrants, but about 5 or 6% of those are residents, so they're safe. But we do have about 4,500 migrants on temporary work visas, and they range from all level positions, but some of them are very highly skilled, can't be replaced within years even. Through to people that could be replaced, but not in a month, more like a year. So we're looking to come to a solution to figure that one out.
Yeah, and of course, it's good to see that migrant workers that have been in a position for longer than 3 years are now non-deemed low-skilled and should be safe. However, what about some of those migrant workers who have only been in the job a year or so?
So currently it's a complicated system, but effectively if you're highly skilled, you're on a 3-year visa, and if you're lower skilled, you're on a 12-month visa. So the government, there is some new policy coming in which will make that a bit clearer. It'll be wages used as proxy to determine what the skill level is, but that won't come through till late July. People that are on a 1-year visa obviously more exposed, although so we're just at the moment, visas are being processed, so government is processing them pretty quickly at the moment, recognising that calving is upon us. But we're looking for certainty now and through the next sort of 6 to 12 months, because we are so reliant on that migrant workforce. And the reason we have the migrant workforce is because unemployment rates have been so low. So this is not something that dairy farmers set out to have such a large migrant workforce. We've ended up with one out of necessity, and now we can't simply undo all that work. And of course, it's also our migrants are really valued. They've played a very key role in the dairy sector and therefore the New Zealand economy. So we have, it's quite heart-wrenching, some of these decisions that we will be faced with over the coming year as well.
And the rise of the migrant workers got nothing to do with lower pay at all. I mean, I was humbled to see that the median farm worker was around the 57,000 mark per annum. Am I correct on that? I mean, it's good pay compared to some other industries.
Yeah, compared to many sectors, we stack up very favourably on pay. And no, that's not the reason that we've got the migrant workers. The reason we've got them is low unemployment rates across New Zealand, things like sort of urbanisation, like a lot of Kiwis have been looking to move from rural into urban settings, and obviously our farms aren't urban, so it's not where they're located. So it's simply a case of we haven't been able to find people to fill the roles, and so therefore migrant workers have filled that gap. But we now farm teams and our sector is they're people as well. So it's just quite tough decisions. We're looking at a situation where we are reliant on our existing migrant dairy workforce, but we also have roles for Kiwis. So it's putting the pieces of the puzzle together. We've got room for everyone. We do expect to see New Zealandisation, if you want to call it, over in the coming years, but we can't make that happen in 6 months, and we certainly can't make it happen in time for calving, which is nearly upon us.
And are the government listening to you on that fact? I mean, they've been rushing through visas for our Avatar film crew coming here. There's talk about the same for America's Cup crew coming. I mean, dairy migrant workers that can immediately fix that short-term problem should be granted at least temporary visas.
Yeah, so we've been heavily focused, and people might have seen in the media, on we have about 40 mid or highly skilled migrants who were stuck out of the country when the borders shut. So they were just simply on holiday visiting family. So we've been applying a lot of pressure to get those people home. The farms that they work on are heavily reliant on them, and as a result, that means our sector they can't just be replaced, because if they move, if those farmers recruit somebody else to fill their place, it just creates a shortfall on that farm. Those skills aren't highly replaceable. So yes, we've been doing that. I think government are listening. They recognise there is a challenge, but all these decisions for exemptions across the border have been being made at a cabinet level. So we're looking for that to change and it to become more operational, and for them to recognise that the amount that dairy contributes to the New Zealand economy, this is critical. These people back in time for calving, and that means decisions made in the next week or two so that they can quarantine safely. We, as much as anyone else, don't want to see a return to any sort of lockdown, so we're absolutely focused on ensuring that anyone comes back and there's no COVID risk.
Okay, long-term planning into the future, the need for workers is not a COVID problem, Jane, and so therefore training facilities and potentially the reopening of Taratahi is very positive. Can you give us a bit of an understanding of how busy you've been at Dairy NZ, not only with that training but also to public relations campaign nationally as well?
Yeah, the wheels are turning at Dairy NZ. That's been true ever since, it was true before we went into lockdown, and lockdown pushed us into overdrive, and it hasn't let up. So, yep, we're very, my area, so the area of people, workforce and workplace, are particularly hot topical issues. So we have been and are launching our Go Dairy campaign, which is about attracting Kiwis to our sector. This week on Monday, we launched the beginning of our Go Dairy Farm Ready training, which is a 3-week training program designed to give people who are changing careers an idea of what dairy looks like. What would it be like working on farm? What can they expect to do day to day? What are the opportunities? That's week 1, is sort of more covers that off. Week two is about animal handling, so animal husbandry and infrastructure on farm, particularly the milking shed. And week 3 is about vehicle safety. So we've kicked that off. The week 1, I should add, we expect to see some dropout, so that the weeks don't have to follow each other. We want people to know that dairy is a good fit for them before they commit to our sector. That makes sense. But as you mentioned, Taratahi, back up and running. We're very pleased to welcome them back. There's been a gap without the Taratahi facilities operating. So they are part of that farm ready training. So there is a residential option for people who want to live in to go to Taratahi or Telford. And of course, over the coming months and years, we should see Telford and Taratahi also do a broader training opportunities for people.
I was just thinking to close, Jane, just putting a bit of a political spin on it, and please answer however you wish. How strong this particular government is going to be on the ability to simply get the dole rather than the high cost of relocating into the regions when there is actual work available. Is there any sort of work that we can do there with WINS to ensure that it's easy for people to relocate to the regions?
Look, I think there's already set up through MSD and the like, there are some abilities for people to be assisted to move into regions on a case-by-case basis. Lucky or unlucky, depending which way, COVID's had a pretty broad impact across New Zealand. So we are probably anticipating that a lot of the people that will come onto dairy farms, they won't necessarily have to move far. They may only be moving smaller distances because jobs have been lost across the country. We will wait and see how it pans out, what the unemployment rate really looks like. We know in dairy there will be jobs, there are jobs now. We need people right now. I had a quick look on Farm Source this afternoon. 754 jobs on dairy farms up on Farm Source as of today. 337 of those are farm assistants. So that is entry-level positions. and not all jobs are advertised on Farm Source.
I was going to say I actually had a look on Seek in Canterbury, and it is rural contractors and dairy farm workers in Canterbury. You could have your pick.
Yes. So we're just saying to people, look, the jobs are there. Come and find out, do our farm ready training. Find out if you don't know about dairy, find out if it's a good fit for you. And if in fact it is a good fit for you, then jump into weeks 2 and 3, get some practical experience so that when you land on farm, you're safe to be on farm. And we just want to set people off on that really great step. We hope that whoever is in government will support us in making sure that our dairy farmers can farm successfully and safely, because we are such a big contributor to the economy. And so supporting dairy farming is a cracking thing to be doing right now.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Sarah's Country tonight. That's Jane Muir. She's head of the people team at Dairy NZ.
This is Sarah's Country.